And welcome into Mizzou basketball postgame on STL Sports Central, brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I'm Grant Salsman. He's Mizzou basketball Hall of Famer Kareem Rush. And it was a tough one in Fayetteville. The Tigers fall 94-86 to a really good Arkansas Razorback team. Kareem, just your initial reactions to this one in Fayetteville.
I mean, we were just talking before the show, and I'm not too upset about it. I wish obviously we would have won the game, especially after coming off such a big win against Vanderbilt. But on the road, you get the top 20 team in Arkansas, just coming off a massive loss that they had with a cup going for 49 points. So they definitely wanted to win. I thought we played pretty well the first 35 minutes of the game. We got out to their early lead, was up by 8 points. I thought our team was playing really well, but then second half they played a lot better and pulled away. But all in all, I don't think this hurts us as far as the tournament standpoint. We may drop a little bit, but I think we're definitely solidifying ourselves as a tournament team.
Yeah, and I think too the margin was 12 points, and you lost by 8. I think in every analytics, you're not really going to see you dip at all. This is a game that you were expected to lose, and all in all, I think you're coming out of the week successful. Andy, you put up a competitive game up against Arkansas. If they lost by 20, 30 points, or even double digits, I would have maybe said not the performance you were looking for. But I think that especially offensively, the team performed well. Obviously, the 94 points is a bit of a worry, but Arkansas is just a very good offensive team.
Yeah, they really are stacked. This is my first time really getting a chance to see them play. Obviously been hearing a lot about the freshmen in A Cup, but I was really surprised by the other kid tonight. What's his name? Richard III. He played really well, and they said his last few games he's really been kind of stepping up. So he had a tremendous second half for them. It kind of pushed him, ahead. The other guy, Irwin, played pretty well as well. And we dealt with foul trouble. TL probably had his worst game since being implemented to the starting lineup. Had a lot of sloppy turnovers. We got killed on the fast break, 17-2. So there were small things that could have shifted this win towards. But again, all in all, we played well offensively. Another monster game from Mark. Great game from Pierce. Didn't get a lot from Stone until the second half. I think we would have had his kind of standard first half as he had in the second half. The game could have been a little bit closer, but. Like I said, I'm happy kind of how we're playing, moving in. Hopefully that target is 10 wins in the SEC. I think is what we're looking for. But again, since we've been healthy, I think everyone's seeing, the capabilities of our team. We're a very solid team that can, challenge anyone in SEC.
Yeah, Justin Hutchinson says this is not good for NCAA tournament resume. I don't think the committee looks at it that way. I think that it's not a bad thing, and that's what Samuel Howell said. It's also not bad. This game I don't think did anything for your resume. You went way up after the Vanderbilt win, and now you kind of plateaued, which I think that is a good thing. And entering this game, I wasn't expecting to win. The worst case scenario was you lose by 25, and people will go, "Ooh, this team. Maybe they aren't that good." I think that. All in all, and I know that's all people think about, and rightfully so, it's February 21st. We're 3 Sundays away tomorrow from Selection Sunday. That's on the mind. This week was very beneficial for Missouri. And to Samuel Howell's point, they weren't blown out. They lost by 8. And you mentioned the fouls, and that's something – does that change, with the 7-man rotation Mizzou's been running, and yes, Burns has kind of made it an 8-man rotation. Cruz only played 8 minutes today, scored 1 point. Does it make you, as Sean Phillips or T.O. Barrett, when they have 3 fouls, play even more conservative? Because we saw T.O., he had 2 fouls, and he picked up his next 2 within minutes. And, how as a player do you need to react when there's not a lot of depth on your team if you do get that 4th or 5th foul?
I mean, sometimes that's just kind of how it goes. You hopefully don't always kind of come to foul trouble, especially with those important players. So very out of the ordinary for Teal to be in such foul trouble. So that's a credit to their guards. A Cup is tough. Their guard play is really tough. So wasn't kind of his normal, game flow. And that's where, depth comes into play and is an advantage, for us. Like I said, and Rob didn't play too well, so he didn't give us much. I'm still waiting for him. He had a couple double-digit scores the last couple games, but I'm still feeling that, from watching, his confidence is not there. And I know we can take another step forward as far as the team if he was able to kind of gain that confidence back. But again, foul trouble is one thing. They said we played well enough to win. A couple of things could have went our way. The game could have been different. But, kudos to them. They came up and stepped up and played big in the second half.
So, and then we go to look at Dennis Gates' kind of view of this. You have Sean Phillips with 4 fouls, Teal Barrett with 4 fouls, Trent Pierce with 4 fouls, Anthony Robinson with 4 fouls. How do you manage that as a coach? Because somehow nobody fouled out, but I think that's what's really hard about this Mizzou team is that if one guy is off or if one guy fouls out or gets into foul trouble, it can kind of throw everything off because they're playing such a limited rotation compared to other teams right now. And I know Arkansas was running a 7-man rotation too, but it can't be easy for a coach to kind of filter this 7-man rotation.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy when foul trouble happens, but that's where you hope, early season, minutes, guys can come in and step up if need be. So we had to go deep within the rotation and bring in Mack and those guys. Then, you hope that they can come in, limit the base and do what they need to do. But, I think our 7 or 8 is really strong. Like you said, Big Burns is definitely kind of working his way in there. I'm still trying to figure out why he's shooting so many threes. He gets big butt to the paint and be dunking. I just really want him to kind of focus more on his strength. He's kind of flimsy to, being so big, get pushed around a little bit. I think he can be kind of an asset to us if he can get a little bit more strong in his base. But, he's still a young guy. But again, the 78 that we kind of, have settled in on, I think is our strongest unit. Just one of those games tonight where a lot of people dealt with foul trouble and it kind of impacted the game.
Yeah, Samuel Howell says Arkansas got to the bonus way before we did. And I feel like that's watching SEC games. I'll say, man, this officiating's terrible for Mizzou. They'll get a ticky-tack foul or two. And then all of a sudden the other way, Mizzou will drive in and barely get touched and draw a foul. Like, I think they call games, especially in the second half, so soft. Each team had 5 fouls before the under 16 media timeout. That's ridiculous.
That's part of the game. We do get our fair share. Surprisingly, we did shoot free throws pretty well today. I think we're 88%. So, Mark definitely gets his share of calls. So, when you're at home, I expect things to kind of go towards the home, even though it's not supposed to be, but it just kind of, how things are. So you always kind of battle that as an opponent on the road. But, I think all in all, officiating wasn't the issue tonight. I think we was playing aggressive. They got great guard play and guys just got in foul trouble. Guys got to be more cognizant of that and not get the ticky-tack ones. But again, this hasn't been a big problem for a lot of our guys, all year. So it's kind of one of those outlier games.
And so you mentioned Trent Burns. I don't know how to feel about him because he's played okay against Vanderbilt, I thought. He has 5 points today, but it's kind of the rebounding numbers. He put up 0 rebounds, 6 points, 2 for 5 from the field, missed 2 threes, had 2 blocks. But the frustrating thing about him is his rebounding right now. He's 7'5", and he
doesn't play 7'5" at all.
No,
that's my issue. I'm like, you're 7'5", but I just don't see it from what you as far as being an impact. And maybe I didn't get a chance to see him in high school, but being 7'5", you should be an asset. He moves well enough. I think it's more about confidence in him building some strength. He just kind of lanky out there, but he could be tremendous. He could be an asset. It's a lob threat. Mark tries to get him a couple lobs there, but he doesn't have a strong enough base to kind of go up there and catch it, as opposed to bringing it down and kind of being tossed off his balance. But if he can kind of figure out that portion, it's hard to teach 7'5". And, Mark is such a great guy who dives and looks for those lobs. He can definitely be an asset for us. But I don't know if this is the year for him to kind of figure that part out. We're all the way into the 85% done. So
yeah, I think so as well. Hopefully, if he stays 1 year, a little more development can happen. Before we move on, because I want to kind of talk about now where Mizzou's at in their NCAA tournament picture. CBS Sports this morning projected them as a 10 seed. Joe Lunardi has them as a 10 seed. One last note on this game, and it's brought to you by our friends at Home Bank, the team behind our team at STL Sports Central, and they bring you the money moment of the game. Kareem Rush, what would you say your money moment of the game is? I think maybe not quite one moment, but the all-encompassing Mizzou's up 8, and Arkansas goes on that run at the end of the half. I think they end up going into halftime with a 6-point lead. I think that was the moment I kind of knew, oh, this game, Arkansas's found their groove. It's going to be a uphill battle for Mizzou.
I mean, towards the second tail in the second half, they started kind of finding those strides. They fall back in the game. So it wasn't necessarily a moment. It was more just like the pace and then the momentum kind of slowly shifted. And then the second half, they came out strong. And, the guy had a great start the second half. So Arkansas is a great team. They're top 24 reason. So, again, I wasn't anticipating to win. I'm happy the way we battled. This could have went our way. A couple plays, a couple guys would have stepped up. But all in all, like you mentioned, I don't think this affect us, as far as the tournament standpoint. But, you never want to take a loss. But this is the best case scenario for us tournament-wise that this loss could have, because we did get blown out and we had a competitive game. So moving on.
I think so as well. And one more thing on Home Bank, STL Mizzou post-game oh, man, if I could talk, Kareem Rush. Mizzou postgame on STL Sports Central is brought to you by our business banking partners at Home Bank. From business lending to everyday banking, Home Bank has been with us since day one as a trusted partner. Business isn't just about numbers, it's about relationships. And with Home Bank, those relationships make all the difference. Home Bank, visit myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. So we talked about 10 kind of being that magic number. And for a while, I thought it was going to be 11. But with the way things have kind of jumbled out, it feels like 10 with the wins Mizzou's got over Vandy, over Florida, over Kentucky, all those big wins, and maybe another one over Arkansas or Tennessee. It 10's the magic number. So that's 2 wins in their last 4. They host Tennessee next week. They travel to Oklahoma, Mississippi State, then host Arkansas in the season finale. What do you think? Where do you think those 2 wins come from?
any of the other 4. I don't care where they come from. I mean, obviously, we play well at home. I think we've only lost once at home, so I'm hoping that we can get those 2. 2 or 3 would be ideal. I think from an eyeball standpoint, if you see us since we've been in full strength, we're certainly a top 68 team in the country. We played all the teams in the SEC very well. We haven't been blown out since the Illinois game. So we played, strong down the stretch and shown that, we're capable of competing and being a topper echelon team in the SEC. So as long as we finish 2, I think we could possibly get 3 of those. 2 would be kind of that 10 mark that we're looking for. But again, I think, this point forward, I think we don't want to go 0-4. But, we want to get as many as we can.
Yeah, Tennessee, they just beat Vandy at Vandy, so that's going to be a tough matchup. But I think that Tennessee game could be the biggest game of the year, because if you lose that game, then maybe you're pressing a little bit. Oh, no, now we got to go 2-1. You win that, I think Mississippi State is kind of a team, a walking corpse right now. They don't have much to play for. I know they have some guys there, but I think that if you get Tennessee, you can get Miss State. And Oklahoma's going to be a challenge away. They're playing a lot better. It took every miracle Mizzou had to beat that team. So I think ideally you win 2 of your next 3. You're at 10-7 to Arkansas, and you're playing with house money. Because as we saw today, that Arkansas team's really good. I would hate to be 9-8 going in having to have a win over Arkansas.
Everyone's a must win, at this point.
It's a good point.
Your SEC, now we want to win. We don't want to lose anymore. So we want to be playing our best ball, coming down the stretch. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, Tennessee's been playing well. They won again today. They got some good players. I'm really excited to see a Met play, that freshman. And then down the stretch, let's see what we can do at home. Like I said, we only lost 1. So we got a chance to finish strong and put ourselves in a good position.
Yeah, it's going to be a $2 beer night at 8:00 on Tuesday. So hopefully that will get the fans a little rowdy, Kareem, in Columbia. All right, so the Tigers fall 94-86 to the Arkansas Razorbacks. Before we wrap it up, any final thoughts about this one and maybe some changes Mizzou needs to make going forward, or was it?
It's just one of those games. Obviously, if you look at the stats, it's very rarely do you lose shooting 55% from the field.
With 2 guys with 20 points too.
Which is what we did tonight. So that tells you that, given them, we scored 86, they scored 94. So our defense could have been a little better, but they're a tough team. They needed to win. 17-2 on fast breaks is kind of where I see where we really lost the game. But all in all, we played well enough to win, didn't get blown out. Solidified ourselves as a tournament team, but obviously we got to finish these last 4 games strong to make sure we get in.
All right. Well said by the Mizzou Hall of Famer. He's Kareem Rush. I'm Grant Salsman. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the Mizzou basketball postgame show on STL Sports Central. We'll be back Tuesday, hopefully, after a big win over the Tennessee Volunteers.
MIZ.